This podcast is sponsored by Intentional Living magazine, your ultimate guide created to help infuse purpose and passion into your everyday life. From expert features that provide valuable insights to thought-provoking content that sparks transformation, this magazine, an online platform, is a perfect source of inspiration for all of those of us who truly believe in the power of intentional choices.
So in this episode, we've got a pair of gorgeous Northwest belters on, Kim and Gem from Conscious Recovery, which is the CIC
in the Northwest. And the CIC looks after and supports people affected by addiction. They are so passionate about the work that they do, and the work that they do is literally changing lives. Mm-hmm. So if you have been affected by anything that you listen to in this podcast, have a look in the show notes. The contacts for Gem and Kim are in there, and I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
Let us know what you think.
We are so excited. So excited. We've got Kim and Gem with us from Conscious Recovery. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'm so excited, I love it. At least you called them Conscious Recovery and not Unconscious Recovery, what my head was telling me before. What's that all about? So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And obviously we've known you for a while, and we keep saying that we wanted to meet up, and then we had the whole excuse of come on the podcast. Let's talk, and can we just?
I met Kim 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 whole years ago now.
That's
that fateful day in your Anarak.
I know, yeah.
Wasn't it? In the Anarak.
Yeah, the famous Anarak.
The famous Anarak.
I've actually thrown that away now.
I think we might do a podcast specifically for the Anarak.
Yeah, Hall of Fame.
You're going to have to tell us about this, what this means.
Okay, so we'll do. But Kim and I met, we were on one of the original Belief Coders in the training in Sheffield over 2 years ago now. And we just got on, didn't we, straight away?
From the very start,
And then you weren't doing this then, the Conscious Recovery then. And then we saw each other again, didn't we, throughout? Yeah. And then was it about a year ago that we were in Sheffield?
Yes.
And we had a chat, and then the next day Gemma came into your life.
Yes. Yeah.
So how crazy is that?
Yeah. So it was probably November of last year. So we were at an event
nearly this time
last year.
Yeah. We were at an event and not seen you properly.
Our anniversary.
For ages, and I was talking about something I was doing at the time. And it just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't, I felt like I should be doing it, but I wasn't enjoying it. Yeah. But the way I've always been is just to carry on and think, can't let people down. And then I had one of Jules's chats and we talked through human design. Yeah, and you made me realise completely why that wasn't lighting me up. And then I started to talk about what did light me up, and I knew that was the way I had to go. Mm-hmm. And then the following day, I was at a retreat, saw Gem sat there, but I'd talked to Tracy Brody the same day, and I said, this is what I actually want to do. And when I started talking, she just said to me, your face is completely different when you talk about your passion. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And then we did our intentions, and I said mine, it got to Gemma. And Gemma said hers, and straight away my mind was like, that's who I need to work with. And we'd never spoke to each other apart from the
but the universe, like you'd made that decision, and like all of a sudden, like she's here. Your answer's here.
So that night is when I said I'm not doing the other thing that I was doing. So within 48 hours of that conversation, we started on this journey, didn't we?
Yeah. And the wonderful Gem came along.
Yeah.
And I've only known Gem like a few months now.
Yeah.
We met, was it at Happy Place the first time?
I think it was.
The down south one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just dead excited to hear about the passion. So do you want to share about the passion with us and what you're bringing with Conscious Recovery?
Yes, so there's 2 elements. Well, there's many different elements, isn't there, to Conscious Recovery? I mean, I'll talk about my passion and where that comes from, and then Gem can talk about her own. Well, it's combined, but for me, my brother has always had, well, not always, but since he was about 29, alcohol challenges, and I don't like to say he's an alcoholic or whatever else, because I don't like to categorise him and I don't want him to think that that's all he'll ever be. So my real frustration came from, I had my own mental health challenges, but I managed to have the fight in me to pull myself out of that and think no one's coming to save me, and I did it, and I met Jules in my whole journey. But he was still always my passion, because I knew how strong he was inside, because there's this whole misconception that people with alcohol addiction, all these challenges, that they're weak. And they're some of the strongest people that I know. My brother was fighting a battle every single day just to get up out of his bed, but he was still doing it. But people still saw him as weak. So he was just my ultimate drive for doing the whole thing. For me, mainly at that time, it was around addiction for me and working with people with addiction, obviously. And then Gemma's, I'll let you say your story. I don't want to just hit me talking, but that was my passion. Still is, and mental health. But that is where the drive for me comes from.
They're intrinsically linked though, aren't they?
100%. I would say that addiction is a mental health issue more than anything else.
And they say 1 in 4, the statistics say...
It's easy to say the stat.
The stats. She's good.
Yeah.
The stats say that 1 in 4 have a mental health challenge every year. I don't believe that.
I
think
I
it's
think
much
it's
higher.
much higher.
Because every single one of my family has had a mental health challenge in a year.
Well,
so I would say everyone is affected.
Yeah, we're taking part in the Taking Action Addiction Awareness Week, which is at the end of October, beginning of November, and their theme this year is everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
But
And
we
if
say
that
that
isn't
we
true,
say that all the time. There's every family has got or knows someone that has been through a mental health struggle.
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
And
Me
people,
too.
this
Yeah,
is
me
what
too.
we're trying. Our point is breaking that stigma and talking more about the challenges. Even we help even family members that have to watch someone go through that, as well as helping the individual with their issues that they might have.
So where's your passion come from for this then, Jen?
So my passion was more the mental health side, although the addiction, I grew up with two addictive parents that were struggled with addiction and mental health, and which resulted in me being taken into care at the age of 10. And then I think my mental health had just from then onwards I was just a bit crazy, but I didn't get the right help and support. So when I went into a foster home at 10 years old, I never got any trauma therapy. They didn't ask me about all the things that I'd seen. I went from a very poor place. You know, we was really in a rough estate, and then went and got fostered into a really posh family. So I had to act the way that I thought they wanted me to at a very young age. So my head was so messed up. And then going to school, it was just, I was in year 6, so I was just starting high school and had no idea who I was, who to act like. And, you know, for a 10-year-old, it must have been, obviously I had this armour on and put up a good front to anyone I needed to.
I can feel that in here when you're talking about it.
It was difficult. It was difficult. So and then the pain of not knowing if my mum was okay, the pain of not wondering why my dad doesn't want me, my nan, and, you know, the whole family, my brother and sister got fostered out. I never seen them again. So I was going through a lot, and then my own troubles in school, my behaviour, and I was just classed as like a crazy kid or the naughty one, never asked, how are you?
Yeah.
What you're going through?
Yeah.
What's on your mind? Nothing like that. I was just always punished for my behaviour and just seen as this wild child. And then in my teenage years, when you're in the care system, when you turn 16, you then live on your own. So all my abandonment issues and everything at 16, I'm put in a flat and I'm on my own again. I was like, whoa, I could not handle that.
Well, you can understand that. It's like
heavy.
It's like what you're effectively doing is putting a 10-year-old living on their own.
Yeah.
It was like my mind had just gone straight back. But then because of what I was used to and what I'd seen as a child, alcohol and drugs then became my best friend.
Yeah, of course.
It was all I could do to numb the pain of whatever I was feeling. And the friendships that I built around that was just crazy. I think I had my first ASBO at 17, but I was wild. But my point is that my mental health was never looked at. Do you know what I mean? No one ever thought there's something wrong with her, like she's not been getting the help that she needs or the support.
Can I just ask when that was? How many years ago that was? When you were 16?
So I'm 38.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go on back.
I'll be honest with you.
22 years.
Yeah, it's only been the last 5 years when I've really
Done the work.
Really done the work, and I've had to do all the work myself. And I've studied childhood trauma, and I've studied all the different. I'm convinced, obviously, I've got ADHD, and I'm convinced I've got personality disorder from when I was younger. So I've studied quite a lot, and the more I studied, the more I knew I need to change something like this. There's so many other kids that go through, or adults that think they're so messed up. But really, it's just obviously everything they've been through. They've not been able to heal from that.
We talk about trauma quite a lot in this podcast, and trauma being, there's big traumas, and obviously what you've gone through is big traumas, but there's also a lot of mini traumas that have just compounded on top of that, like to create this whole thing. And trauma isn't necessarily just the event, but it's the fact that you haven't had the support.
Yeah, exactly. It's where your needs weren't met, isn't it?
Where your needs weren't met. And that was all of that stuff. So we're aware of it and we share about it here, but the system still isn't aware of it. But we do believe there's a real shift coming.
Starting to change
and that was
a
my
little
point,
bit, isn't it?
That was my point in asking the question about how long ago was that. So you took going back 22 years, so there was nothing there for you then. And then right now, where are we? Because I've definitely heard of lots of support, CICs, obviously yourself setting up. More of it needs to happen, because even just me sitting at home with my daughter who's 13, and she talks to me about her friends in school, in a secondary school, and in her pool of friends, I've got those type of issues coming, and I am. It breaks my heart.
I think it's like, one. Sorry,
go on.
I think it's 1 in 6 children live with an alcoholic parent. Yeah, so I do some volunteering for NACOA. And I think it's 1 in 6. It might even be less than that.
Because that's what I was going to say about the stats. That if you could share some stats with us, so that we can really educate people out there to say, if you have got someone in your family who is struggling with their mental health or with addiction, or if it's you, that we can bring them to you guys, so that you can signpost them.
In terms of we work, so the reason that we called it Conscious Recovery is because we wanted to cover a broad range of just everything, anything that can impact a person's life, anybody who's recovering from anything. Like my own mental health, it took a major dip when I fell and I got diagnosed with epilepsy. So that was where my true mental health struggles came from. But in that, my son got very badly affected. But because he didn't have the fall, he wasn't having the seizures, the school didn't recognise that he was going through anything. So that is another passion, isn't it? Because like Gemma's just talked about, it wasn't recognised that she was going through anything, because it was her parents who'd been through the stuff. They're not even looking at the wider.
But it's still not being looked at by the authorities that should be doing that. So it's people like us that, holistic angels that I call them, that are seeing that this needs change and we need to do something. We're having to do it ourselves, because whoever the bigwigs are that are getting all this money to do this and this, they're not spending it on the right things. I'm in schools now and I'm seeing it firsthand. And I'm having to talk to teachers, like they're there to teach. It's nothing against teachers, but they are not equipped for what's going on in them schools, and the children desperately need some help.
Teachers aren't social workers, are they?
And they're not. They're there to teach. I do get it.
And I've got family that are teachers, and they have so many children that are living in these kind of environments, and that they're meant to do all of the things, and they just haven't got the time with 30 kids in a class as well. So I get it. But one of the challenges as well is the funding of the support. First of all, it's acknowledging that they need the support, and just saying, we haven't got the funding isn't helpful. So where are you getting your funding from?
So we're in the process of funding, but there's a thing with me and Gemma that I don't know whether this is a bit of our old fire coming through, but I will knock on any door, and Gemma will do the same to get the help that we need, because this is something that's come up for us recently. Because we work with so many different things and so many different people, we talk about a lot of different things, and Gemma wanted to share something and somebody had shared something else and said, it's a trigger, you shouldn't share it. And that I said, nah, no way. until we have the difficult conversations, until people see the difficult reality of what's going on, there will always be stigma. There'll always be shame attached to different things because we're still hiding under a blanket of, oh no, you can't show that because it might trigger somebody else.
And there's always, no matter what, who says what, we trigger people, I trigger people every day. I literally do, but, honest to God. But we have to speak out. And do you know what?
It's
If you trigger 10, but you help 50, I'd rather trigger people all day long than one person hear a story of hope and save their life. 100%.
And again, it's going back to what's the reason behind the trigger and having those honest conversations with those people to say, what is it about that? It's usually because it's an honest picture of you, something that you're showing to someone. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what is it within you that's not being dealt with? Let's help you. Open and honest.
Yes. The funding process isn't easy. We've been doing this work since January. We've not took a penny.
We haven't paid ourselves because it is passion driven, you know, but obviously you need to pay the bills to keep going and to do what we're doing. Obviously we do need to go. So we have got our We've gone for some funding in different. We're relying on sponsors and doing charity works, and obviously we do the retreats now that they went really well, and we're going to continue doing stuff like that to get the funds in. But we've got about 32 volunteers that work for us now: social workers, ex-police officers. Wow. We've got therapists, psychotherapists, hypnotherapists, child trauma therapists.
That's amazing.
We've got a big team.
Bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
Listen, we could talk to you all day, and I know you got stuck in traffic on the way here. Right, whoever's listening and watching, how can they help you? How can they donate to you? How can they support Conscious Recovery? How can they support Kim? How can they support Gem?
So one of the easiest ways, we've got our Instagram page, which is Conscious Recovery .org UK. They can get in touch with us on there. We've got the website. It's on my back, but it's www.consciousrecovery.org.uk. They can get us at gmail.com. Sorry, they can get us through there.
We'll put it in the show notes
Facebook, as well. Literally, the best. We are looking for sponsors. We want, like people. Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
So if you know somebody who's affected and you're in a position where you want to help them and help us to help them, just speak to us. And there's nothing, like me and Gemma laugh about this, but we literally, there's nothing that anybody could say to us that would faze us.
I absolutely 100% know that.
So if there's something where somebody thinks, I couldn't say that just wouldn't be the case. We found our skill is really in helping people open up. And
your superpowers are huge, right? And what you're doing is amazing, and we're grateful to you. And I've got family that have been through similar traumas, and I think, like you say, everyone knows someone. So if you're watching, if you're listening and you can help, please do, and get in touch with Gem and Kim and Anarak, because they will be really grateful.
Yes. Oh, we will. More than grateful, won't we? Definitely.
Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say thank you, and we feel honoured, don't we, to be your guests on here, and lovely. To have people believing in us, it feels amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively. We've got so many supporters, and it's just, and we're doing amazing things. Like, we've already had so many transformations from some of the people we've worked with, and it's just heartwarming for us. But thank you for having us.
That's what it's all about, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Check out the show notes. Thank you.
Thank you.